The hero awakens to a sharp pain piercing his body, finding himself carelessly thrown in a dark, cold back alley as heavy rain falls relentlessly upon him. He begins to wonder in confusion where he is and how he managed to survive the massive explosion that was supposed to tear him to shreds. As he struggles to his feet, feeling a severe dizziness as if the world is spinning, fragments of painful memories begin to surface. He remembers his true identity, Jin Quan, a former and veteran member of the Special Forces. He bitterly recalls the events of his last mission where he and his loyal comrades fell into a treacherous and well-laid ambush. They were betrayed by their own organization, which mercilessly used them as live coordinates to direct a massive and precise explosion, the devastating blast that claimed his life and the lives of his companions. As he drowns in a sea of his painful memories, the pain ravaging every cell in his body intensifies. He decides with difficulty to search for any place to shelter from the continuous rain and the growing pain that nearly makes him lose consciousness. He stumbles through the heavy downpour until he spots a faint, warm light emanating from a nearby building. Realizing someone lives inside, he heads towards it with a faint hope of getting help. Upon entering cautiously, he calls out to whoever is inside in a low voice, only to be met with a horrific scene. A large-bodied man was screaming in unbearable pain before his head suddenly explodes, and he falls to the ground, a lifeless corpse in a pool of blood. At that moment, Jin Quan suddenly hears a desperate voice screaming, "Brother!" coming from a nearby sewer opening. He quickly turns to find a strange, blood-stained metal piece next to the corpse and swiftly picks it up to examine it closely. At that moment, two mysterious figures appear as if out of nowhere, wearing long black robes and frightening skull-shaped masks. They describe Jin Quan's sudden arrival as the appearance of a despicable rat that came to steal at an inconvenient time. The two decide to eliminate him immediately because he saw what he shouldn't have, and they also clearly express their strong desire to obtain that thing in his possession. They attack him without hesitation, leading Jin Quan to wonder with resentment and bitterness if the Grim Reaper has come for him again, right after he miraculously survived death. One of the attackers notices the corpse starting to glow strangely and about to explode. Indeed, a massive explosion occurs in the house. Thanks to his past training, Jin Quan manages to evade their attack and the explosion, escaping at the last moment. He takes refuge in the sewer opening from which he heard the voice and uses the metal piece as a final bargaining chip. He threatens the person below that he will throw the box away and make his brother's death a meaningless sacrifice if he doesn't help him escape. A metal rod is extended to him from the slowly opening sewer manhole, and he succeeds in climbing down, thanking his helper while panting. As soon as he is down, he is surprised by a small girl with distinctive blue hair pointing a large gun directly at his head. She asks him sharply about his identity, which faction he belongs to, and why he stopped her brother from completing his mission. Jin Quan calmly replies that he doesn't want any trouble and was just looking for shelter from the deadly rain. The girl demands he hand over the item he has, so he tells her it's in his coat, and gives her the metal piece he found. The girl takes the metal piece and looks at it with deep sorrow, whispering her brother's name, Lin, and wondering why he acted so foolishly, risking his life for a mere emblem. She collapses to the ground, crying, and wonders how she will be able to go on without him in this cruel, unforgiving world where the strong mercilessly prey on the weak. Jin Quan watches her and thinks to himself with regret that even after being reborn into a different world, he still sees this same look of killer despair in people's eyes. It's the same look he had seen repeatedly in his past life on the faces of refugees who had lost everything during the brutal war, and of women who had lost their loved ones and were left all alone. Jin Quan continues to think that the women who wore this desperate look never felt joy upon being rescued, because they had lost their homelands and homes and no longer had anyone to rely on in this desolate world. Even if they miraculously survived, they often fell into the hands of others to continue their suffering in a different way. Jin Quan turns to the crying girl and kneels down quietly to comfort her. He asks her not to be afraid and to consider him a mercenary hired by her brother to protect her, assuring her that he will protect her just as her brother would have if he were alive. The girl surprises him with her cold reply, telling him that he might be a good person, but he won't live long anyway. When he asks her why, she explains that he was exposed to too much of the toxic dark rain outside. She adds that this place is the city of the dead, and the dark rain is not like normal acid rain. It turns into a strong, burning acid after it dries on the skin. She explains that the fate of anyone completely drenched in this rain is a slow and painful death, inevitably. It is then that Jin Quan understands the reason for the growing weakness consuming his body. Despite his deteriorating condition, he asks her where she is from, who she is, and about the identity of the men in masks who attacked him. She replies that she is from the third city of the dead, and that this was the lower district. As for the men, they are the law enforcers in this area and are dangerous class holders of the magic type. Jin Quan is bewildered by these strange terms like magicians and class holders, and asks her about the current year and the name of the country they are in. She tells him that the year is 1000 according to the Star Scar calendar, and they are in the Flying Eagle Empire. A faint smile appears on Jin Quan's face as he realizes he has never heard of these names before, concluding that he has somehow been transported to a completely different world. He then asks her how one becomes a class holder, since she fears them so much. She explains that it doesn't require an exam or a test. It's enough to obtain an emblem for anyone to awaken a combat, support, or special class within them. Here, she connects it to her tragedy, saying that her brother had gone to steal this very emblem for her, and now he will never return. She blames herself deeply for letting him go on this suicidal mission. When Jin Quan asks if she has any other relatives, she replies with deep sorrow that her brother was her only family in this world. She adds that if she can't become a class holder with this emblem, she will surely not be able to survive on her own. Jin Quan sighs, commenting that they are both unfortunate souls who are stranded. Suddenly they hear the sounds of the enforcers approaching from above, cutting their conversation short. The girl panics and decides she must awaken her power immediately, or they will both surely die. She tries to use the emblem by placing it on her forehead again, but it violently rejects her, pushing her away with a magical force. Jin Quan asks her what's happening, and she explains that there are only two possibilities for an emblem's rejection, either a physical rejection, or she simply doesn't have the innate talent to become a class holder. The girl feels absolute despair and calls herself useless, because the thing her brother sacrificed his life for has become worthless in her hands. At that moment, the enforcers jump down into the sewer. One of them mockingly asks why the little rat has stopped running, while the other orders to kill them both and retrieve the stolen emblem. The girl grabs the emblem and rushes towards Jin Quan. At the moment the enforcers attack, the girl makes a desperate decision. She uses the emblem that rejected her, picks it up, and forcefully places it on Jin Quan's forehead. A mysterious system message appears before him, announcing the success of his class change, while a long black sword materializes in his hand out of thin air. A data panel appears, revealing his new class, Demon Swordsman, at level 0, and his name as Jin Quan V. He discovers he now possesses exclusive skills like Demon Sword Mastery, Dark Insight, which allows him to sense malicious intent, and Demonic Constitution, which grants him high vitality. Most importantly, a rare SSS rank True Soul talent called Statue of the Nether Flame God. Jin Quan opens his eyes, which now gleam with confidence and power, and wonders in amazement about the existence of this data panel and whether these are the rules of this strange new world. The girl looks at him in astonishment and joy, telling him that the emblem was a perfect match for him and that he has now become one of the class holders. The leader of the enforcers shouts in rage, threatening Jin Quan with death for daring to use the emblem without their permission, and then launches a fierce attack on him. Jin Quan easily parries the attack with his new sword, protecting the girl standing behind him, which shocks the attacker for his inability to break through his simple defense. Jin Quan goes on the offensive, rushing swiftly towards the attackers, and unleashing a dense dark energy from his sword, shouting at his opponents to all die. The enforcers realize he has fully absorbed the emblem's power and try to block him with all their might, but he tells them they are overestimating their strength. His attack breaks through their defenses, causing them severe pain. The girl watches the scene in utter disbelief, wondering how someone can become so powerful immediately after absorbing an emblem. Jin Quan himself notices that the emblem's power is incredible. His body, which had been corroded by the dark rain, has completely recovered, and he feels a strength he has never known before. The defeated enforcers regret their loss to a novice who has just awakened, and they worry about returning and giving their disgraceful report. Jin Quan looks at them coldly and asks if they still think they will return alive. He then declares that none of them will leave this place, and lunges at them, ending their lives with swift and deadly attacks. The battle ends with the complete defeat of the enforcers. The girl warns him that killing the enforcers will inevitably lead to their discovery and insists they must leave the place quickly before reinforcements arrive. Jin Quan looks up at the high exit on the sewer ceiling and wonders how to climb up to it, but the girl tells him she has been hiding here for a while and knows another way, asking him to follow her. She places a small explosive device on the wall, creating a small explosion that forms an ascending path and a new passage, which surprises Jin Quan with her skill. The girl then leads him to a hidden staircase they can use to exit to the surface. After about an hour, they arrive at a quiet, dark street where she points to her humble home and invites him inside. She apologizes for the slight mess, but assures him the place is safe and livable. She offers him a seat while she does some quick tidying up, and Jin Quan comments that it surely isn't easy for her to manage this place alone in this harsh world. The girl replies with evident sadness to Jin Quan's comment, explaining that two people used to manage this place together, but now she manages it alone after her brother's departure. Jin Quan apologizes for unintentionally reminding her of her brother, but the girl tells him it's okay and that she's used to it. Suddenly the door is forcefully kicked open, and an elderly man with a frightening scar on his face enters, accompanied by 2 large guards. He angrily asks the girl why she was late in opening the shop today. The girl recognizes him immediately and trembles in fear. He is one of the local warlords. The warlord brazenly asks the girl if her brother had told her about the deal he made with him before he died. When she asks what deal he is talking about, he smiles mockingly, realizing she knows nothing, and orders his men to take her away by force. The 2 guards grab the girl as she screams and tells them to leave her alone. Jin Quan calmly intervenes and orders them to stop immediately, which enrages the warlord, who asks him who he is and how he dares to interfere in his private affairs. Jin Quan challenges the warlord, asking him what right he has to take the girl in this manner. The warlord arrogantly replies that his right stems from being the warlord who controls this area. After that, Jin Quan's demeanor changes surprisingly. He mentions that his insight as a class holder allows him to sense good and evil, and that he feels the warlord is a good person, despite his harsh appearance. The warlord asks Jin Quan, surprised, if Lin He had left any special words to convey to him. Then he added, in a tone full of suspicion, that the term good person is almost foreign to this city of the dead. Jin Quan changes his approach from confrontation to negotiation, asking the warlord what price he must pay to get the girl back and ensure her safety. The warlord seems interested in this offer and mentions that Lin He believed Jin Quan could return alive from pit number 1. When Jin Quan inquires about this mysterious place, the warlord explains that it's a dangerous mine filled with sand-devouring worms. He offers him a high-risk deal. If Jin Quan can go in there, bring back what he wants, and return alive, he will give him the girl back. But before that, the warlord decides to test Jin Quan to see if he is indeed qualified to make a deal with him, and he rushes towards him to deliver a powerful punch. The girl screams, warning Jin Quan not to face him directly, revealing that the warlord, Wang Ming, is a powerful level 2 class holder. Jin Quan manages to block the attack using a staff he found in front of him amidst a glowing blue aura. The warlord is shocked and recognizes Jin Quan's rare, true soul talent, wondering if he is from the upper city. One of the guards exclaims in disbelief that his master's powerful attack was actually blocked so easily. Jin Quan calmly asks if he is now qualified to make the deal. The warlord laughs and calls him a novice who hasn't even reached the 1st level, but he agrees to the deal. The warlord clearly states its terms. Jin Quan must go to pit number 1 where a hateful spider mother resides. 3 hours after its death, the flower of serenity from hatred will bloom. He must bring this rare flower to the Champs-Élysées garrison in the lower district to exchange it for the girl. Jin Quan agrees to the deal without hesitation. After that, the warlord issues a public announcement for all to hear. The next morning at 8 o'clock, all men aged 16 and above in the 3rd city of the dead must head to pit number 1. To emphasize his seriousness, he crushes an innocent frog under his foot, declaring that anyone who is late for the appointment will die. After they leave, Jin Quan contemplates the complex situation. He guesses that the girl's brother knew he would die in the pit, so he stole the emblem to secure his sister's future. But he now wonders if this was all an elaborate trap set for him by the warlord from the very beginning. After being left alone in the room, Jin Quan realizes the situation is critical and dangerous, and decides he needs to familiarize himself with his new abilities first before anything else. He focuses on his first talent, Statue of the Nether Flame God. During his meditation, he summons a massive and majestic entity resembling an armored demon, surrounded by mysterious blue flames, standing behind him like a guardian shadow. After that, he moves on to his second talent, but he notices that the information related to it in the data panel is completely garbled and unclear. However, he feels that its latent power should not be underestimated at all, and he tests this mysterious power by cutting a nearby rock in half with a single strike. Jin Quan takes a look at his new body, noticing that it is not his original one. Despite the great similarity, a seasoned soldier from his past life would not have such smooth and supple skin. He also notices a difference in his name. Previously his name was Jin Quan, but the data panel indicates that V is his family name and Jin Quan is his personal name. Jin Quan decides to put these mysteries aside for the time being, realizing that the most urgent task is to go out and gather more information about this strange and dangerous world. Half an hour later, he finds himself in a crowded bar that is offering free drinks to everyone. The bartender explains that the reason for this sudden generosity is that they are all heading to pit number 1 in the early morning. Jin Quan asks for more details about this ominous pit, and the man replies sarcastically that they do not have the right to dig. That is a task reserved for the residents of the lower district only. He explains that the pit is full of savage insects called sand-devouring worms. These worms dig their nests after they have had their fill of flesh and blood, and this digging process later facilitates the mining operation. Jin Quan concludes with horror that they will be used as live food for the worms, which the man bitterly confirms. then raises his glass, wishing good luck to himself and to the others who will face the same fate. Elsewhere, an official named Li Hongyu meets with his subordinates, slamming the table in a fit of rage and calling them useless garbage. He demands to know the fate of the precious emblem he so desperately wanted. One of his men reports that the thief has vanished without a trace, and that his partner, Lin He, escaped through the sewers and blew up the tunnel behind him to prevent pursuit. Li Hongyu orders them to find the emblem immediately, when his assistant points out the difficulty of the task and the possibility that the emblem has already been used by someone else. Li Hongyu retorts angrily that those filthy creatures from the lower districts do not deserve to possess an emblem of such value, and that he will kill them one by one if necessary. Another subordinate enthusiastically agrees with Li Hongyu, but the first official objects, explaining that the residents of Death Cities 1 to 5 must enter pit number 1 in the morning to deliver enough crimson blood ore, or they will face severe punishment from the Eagle Corps. Li Hongyu reluctantly agrees and orders everyone to be thoroughly searched before heading to the mine, as he suspects the thief might be hiding among them. The next day, the men are herded into a cramped train heading to the mine, amidst the shouts and harsh instructions of the guards. Jin Quan moves silently with the rest of the people into the train, while Li Hongyu supervises the operation from a high place, and orders the meticulous and thorough search to begin. One of the officials uses a glowing hexagonal device called Scavenger B2, explaining that it is capable of detecting any spiritual energy and will definitely sound an alarm if it finds a hidden emblem. Li Hongyu, the official in charge of the operation, orders the inspection to begin without any sluggishness or delay. His men begin the meticulous search among the crowd, while the guards push people forcefully and violently into the overcrowded cars. Amidst the crowd, the voices of people around him rise, complaining about the severe crowding that is nearly crushing them. And in the midst of this chaos, Jin Quan feels an overwhelming presence of hatred and malice around him. The crowding continues to the point where some are nearly suffocating and losing consciousness, and 2 people have already fainted inside the train due to suffocation. Someone screams that the car is completely full and that 2 people have already been crushed to death. Suddenly, the guards storm the place and one of them fires a warning shot into the air, ordering everyone to stop moving immediately. Jin Quan calmly raises his hands, observing the situation. Li Hongyu steps forward and announces that, as the young master, he lost a precious treasure in the lower district yesterday, and he hopes that whoever took it will hand it over voluntarily. Upon hearing this, Jin Quan realizes that the lost treasure might be the very emblem in his possession, and he is astonished by this strange and unexpected coincidence. Li Hongyu smiles mockingly, announcing that as long as no one confesses to the theft, he will search for the treasure himself. One of his assistants begins to activate the hexagonal device, which sticks to the ceiling and starts moving. And Li Hongyu adds a final threat that if he finds the thief himself, his fate will be certain death without any trial. The device passes over Jin Quan without detecting anything, which puzzles him. The device continues to scan the crowds, searching for any spiritual energy, but it soon stops over another man wearing a cloak and emits a sharp alarm, announcing the presence of spiritual energy. Li Hongyu shouts, ecstatic that he has finally found the thief. The man panics, wondering what is happening and why the device stopped above him. The spider-like hexagonal device launches its attack towards the cloaked man and hits him in the shoulder. The man tries to flee desperately, but Li Hongyu warns him that he won't go anywhere unless he hands over the item. Li Hongyu grabs him violently by his clothes, and the man begs him not to kill him, offering him a purple crystal and swearing it's all he has. Li Hongyu takes the crystal and realizes with disgust that it's just a worthless, cursed crystal. He throws it away angrily, wondering who would want this junk, and orders the scan to continue. His assistant informs him that there are no new indications of spiritual energy. Li Hongyu orders them to move to the next car to continue the inspection. After 5 long and grueling hours, the train finally arrives at its final destination inside the dark mine. Inside the train, Jin Quan wonders about their destination after the journey continued for a very long time in the dark. Another man sitting near him explains that they are about to enter pit number 1, pointing to the faint red light ahead as proof, and adds that the guards have already left the train, leaving them to their fate. The man explains that the train is heading directly into the heart of the mine, where the number and strength of the monsters increase the deeper they go. When the train reaches its final destination and stops, Jin Quan decides he cannot stay here and wait for death, so he jumps from the car in a swift motion. He lands in a vast and strange cave, filled with glowing red crystals, and realizes he is completely unfamiliar with this place and needs a guide to lead him. Suddenly, he senses a movement nearby in the darkness, so he quickly draws his sword and parries a surprise attack that came out of nowhere. He then challenges the hidden attacker, ordering him to stop skulking like a coward and come out to fight. A man with white hair and goggles appears and rushes towards Jin Quan, yelling at him to surrender to death. Jin Quan easily parries the attack, coldly commenting that his opponent has chosen the hard way to resolve this conflict. He quickly overpowers him, slamming him forcefully to the ground, then raises his sword to deliver the finishing blow. The man begs him not to kill him, claiming he was forced to do it out of hunger. Jin Quan places the cold blade of his sword on his neck and demands he reveal his name and the reason for setting up this ambush. The man, named Qing Xiao, confesses that he was starving after spending 10 days in this pit, and he intended to kill and eat Jin Quan to survive. Jin Quan asks him how he obtained his status as a class holder. Qing Xiao replies that there is a rare chance to get an emblem by killing monsters, but the easier way is to get them from the wealthy lords and ladies who come from the upper city for entertainment, as they usually don't care about these things. He adds that serving these wealthy individuals is fraught with risk, as they might use them as bait to attract monsters for fun, and survival depends entirely on the luck of meeting a kind-hearted person. Jin Quan asks him if there is any strategic guide for survival in the pit. Qing Xiao denies it, explaining that the only way is to hide in a cave for 15 days until the miners or the wealthy arrive, but those who cannot fight the insects will inevitably starve to death. When Jin Quan inquires about how to raise his level, Qing Xiao explains that it is done by killing insects, but the real problem is that the weakest insects in this pit start at level 11. Qing Xiao describes their situation with despair, saying they are just fertilizer for this pit, thrown in to die. Suddenly, Jin Quan shouts a warning of an imminent attack and pushes Qing Xiao out of danger, as a huge mosquito known as a crimson blood mosquito of level 9 appears. Qing Xiao panics at the sight of this type of monster, while Jin Quan notices that the density of insects in this place seems unusually high. Qing Xiao screams that they must flee immediately or their fate will be certain death, but Jin Quan calmly and confidently confronts the mosquito, then kills it with a single swift sword strike, thinking that the monster's level may be high, but his talent is not ordinary either. Qing Xiao looks on in utter disbelief, unable to believe that Jin Quan has eliminated the crimson blood mosquito so easily with a single blow. He immediately prostrates himself before him, begging Jin Quan to accept him as his follower, pledging to serve him with absolute loyalty and devotion. But Jin Quan coldly refuses him, describing him as a heavy burden he doesn't want to carry with him in this dangerous place. Suddenly, Jin Quan feels a strong disturbance in the energy around him, and a huge armored monster emerges from the ground. A crystal ore insect of level 15. Jin Quan immediately recognizes the danger of the situation and quickly jumps onto the insect's back to evade its devastating attack. While Qing Xiao screams for help, trembling in fear, the insect roars in rage and rushes quickly in his direction. But Jin Quan calmly analyzes his opponent, noting that its defense is very high and its movement is slow, which he considers an ideal type of opponent for him. He skillfully climbs the wall and then jumps on top of the insect, launching a swift and surprising attack, unleashing his technique called 3000 Flows, and delivering a powerful and deadly blow to the insect, cutting it in half. After eliminating the monster, a system message appears, congratulating him on killing the crystal ore insect, which is 15 levels above him, with 100% efficiency. As a result, his level immediately rises to level 6. Jin Quan stands over the monster's corpse and realizes that the rules of this world are very similar to video game rules. The greater the level difference with the enemy, the higher the rate of obtaining loot and rewards. He reaches his hand into the insect's body and pulls out a piece of it, finding an equipment emblem for a heavy crystal ore armor, an armor that increases physical attack power by 5% and has a 10% chance to reduce damage by 20%. Jin Quan realizes that monsters do indeed drop loot, and that this emblem is for equipment, not for a class change. He tries to equip the emblem, but the system informs him that his level is insufficient to wear it, and he is surprised to find there are level restrictions. He decides to put the matter aside and focus on exploring the area with the aim of survival first. While exploring, he notices a cave in front of him where a large number of glowing red eyes are shining in the darkness. A huge swarm of crystal ore insects emerges from the cave. Jin Quan looks at them with a confident smile, considering them perfect opponents to raise his level quickly. He rushes towards them with great enthusiasm, challenging them to come and fight him with all their might. He engages in a fierce and bloody battle, eliminating many of them one after another with superior skill, and system messages continue to appear, announcing his kills of monsters above his level with 100% efficiency. After the battle, his level reaches 10 and the conditions for class advancement appear before him, requiring a swordsman emblem, killing 10 level 1 monsters with 100% efficiency, and killing a monster lord. Among the loot, he finds a new class emblem, the Beetle Knight, a class with high defense and survivability. He comments that his luck is good today, and concludes that as long as there are emblems for equipment and classes, he will surely be able to find an emblem for swords as well. Suddenly, something strange emerges from among the insect corpses. It is a huge body that shoots fiery projectiles, forcing him to jump quickly to avoid them. A massive monster appears, the King of Crystal Ore Insects, a very powerful monster of level 25. Jin Quan realizes that this monster's level is very high and that a direct confrontation would be difficult and dangerous. Convinced that a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him, he decides to flee immediately without hesitation. While fleeing, he spots a pack of wolf-like monsters, and a clever idea comes to his mind. He skillfully lures the Insect King towards the wolves. The monster attacks by directing fiery projectiles towards Jin Quan, but he skillfully dodges them, causing them to hit the wolves instead, which leads to a fierce and chaotic battle between the two parties. Jin Quan watches from a distance, pleased with his success in turning the two monsters' attention towards each other. He decides to let them fight until they weaken each other, then he will have the opportunity to deliver the finishing blow. The ferocious wolves manage to bite the Insect King fiercely, but in the end, the Insect King manages to overcome the wolves, relying on its massive size and immense strength. However, the continuous attacks of the wolves lead to the breaking of its armored defense. Jin Quan seizes this golden opportunity and rushes towards the Insect King, yelling at it to go to hell. The monster roars in intense pain, before a massive explosion results from Jin Quan's focused attack. After the battle, a system message appears, announcing he has reached level 11 and his exclusive skills have been upgraded. Jin Quan thinks that a level 2 boss is still difficult to kill, and he needs to raise his level faster. He admits that if it weren't for his use of the other monster's power, he would have been at least seriously injured. He examines the loot he obtained and finds an equipment emblem for a level 2 boot called Beetle's Leap, and a level 2 magic staff called Crystal Ore Staff. He decides that these emblems are not useful to him at the moment and stores them for later. Suddenly he hears a noise nearby and senses the presence of another person in the cave. He looks in the direction of the sound, wondering what happened and who could be here. He hears a familiar voice yelling at someone to die and not to come near him. Jin Quan recognizes the owner of the voice, finding it to be the red-haired young man he met at the bar. The young man appears to be completely surrounded, as he realizes he is trapped between two monster bosses with no chance of escape. One of these bosses is the blue blood-sucking Bat King of level 19. The young man decides that instead of waiting for death, it is better for him to fight one last battle and die with honor. The red-haired young man fires a shot from his weapon in a desperate attempt, but the bats attack him with a dense, burning flame, and he realizes with despair that his abilities are completely useless against them. As the monsters swarm him from all sides, he screams that he cannot accept this humiliating defeat, and a strong, wild desire for survival overcomes him. Suddenly, something unexpected happens that scatters the bats' attack and eliminates them all at once, much to his astonishment. Jin Quan appears before him after having eliminated the two bosses with swift strikes. The young man, in a state of shock, asks if he was the one who killed them, to which Jin Quan replies that it was nothing worth mentioning. The young man expresses his deep gratitude, assuring him that he will remember this favor and never forget it, and the red-haired man offers to lead him out of this cursed place. As they are on their way out, the red-haired man notices something in front of them in the darkness. A massive monster suddenly appears, the blue blood-sucking Bat King of level 20, and they both realize the danger of the situation and that the battle is not over yet. The Bat King launches a devastating sonic attack, and Jin Quan shouts to warn his companion. Jin Quan manages to push him away just in time to avoid the deadly attack.